What are the things that you see when, because I know you're kind of involved with Colt on probably like the business end and stuff. I'm sure you're talking to Robbie about what riders are going to get sponsored or whatever. Like what's the stuff that really makes you look at somebody and feel like they're worth investing in these days?
That's a really good question, actually, because we're trying to figure it out constantly because
Right,
things
yeah.
change so much these days. And yeah, honestly, I think the people that stand out to us right now, the riders, are people who have that drive and that work ethic and can get along with everybody in the van. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you can be yourself, but you also need to accept everybody else for who they are and be able to coexist with them, you know? So it's like, if you're out riding with somebody and the vibe's off, then the riding's off, you know? So it's like, you need to make sure that they fit in with the crew as well. Work hard, fit in with the crew. Don't, you know, I guess the other thing is, you have to learn from, I guess, the people that want to help raise you up in BMX, you know, like I've known Robbie for over 20 years, you know, and like he helped me with some things early on that if no one ever told me, I'd probably be kooking it to this day. You know what I mean? So it's like when, like, I guess someone who's been in it for a while gives you advice, like, granted, as long as they're not like some salty old dude, it's like, listen to that and be like, hey, maybe that is something I could work on or whatever, you know?
Because there's been a lot of times over the years where I heard about, you know, he doesn't even ride for him anymore, so I'll just use his name in the example. Like Mark Burnett, when he went on his first Sunday trip, and he's just, you know, like 15, he's super good at riding, but he's just talking and talking and talking, and like, you know, and I'm picturing in my head, and the pro team is like whoever, like Aaron Ross and all these guys at the time who probably, you know, they've been on a million trips, they know how they want this trip to go. They don't, if you're annoying, it's just gonna really stand out. And that is such a crazy dynamic for me to imagine. It's funny because in this interview, we've already described you being on both ends of it, where you're the OG in the van on these cult trips these days, and you were the brand new kid on that low-tech trip back in the day. So I actually think that your strategy, whether it was just because you were anxious or whatever, of just kind of not talking, probably a pretty good strategy, because over-talking is like very risky. Maybe these dudes are going to like you, but there's like a really good chance that maybe you want to start off slow with letting them know what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you are the new kid. You have something to prove. Like, I hate to say it like that, but in so many ways you have to, I guess, be mindful that you have the generals of the team with you, and you need to show them that you can fit in with them, you know? So I don't know if that sounds tribal or corny or whatever, but I mean, to a certain extent, it's like that.
It's true. Just because, like, going out riding is like it's such an emotional thing. If you're a person who's actually trying to get footage, it's like, you know, you're doing something that's very, very sacred and important to you, and just having one person whose vibe is off there for the average pro, it's just really gonna have like an outsized effect on what they're trying to do that day.
Isn't it crazy how that happens? It's like something as little as somebody's vibe being a little bit off could throw off the whole day of filming. You know what I mean? It could go from a good day of like people getting tricks, having a good time, celebrating, to like, whatever, dude, let's just go home, dude. This guy, it's like it could derail it really quick. Yeah. It's really gnarly how that can happen.
Yeah, like the energy and the intensity of a BMX trip kind of just determines so much, because, you know, I've known people, or I've been on the road with teams who, you know, they're up at 9 in the morning and they're out riding until 1 or 2 in the morning, and they just are just on it because there's either the team manager or the filmer or whoever is really like controlling the flow of the trip is basically saying, we're going to ride this much. And then there's other trips where you can almost tell that like the team manager doesn't really give a fuck, and they're perfectly happy to go back to the hotel room and party as soon as it hits 5 or 6 p.m. or whenever it starts to get dark. And it's like, you know, those are just two completely different styles of doing a trip, and both can happen, and it's based on like the energy of the people as a collective.
100%. Yeah. I think when people realize that they're like accountable for how things can go and how a trip could go and how a video could turn out, that's when you start making decisions based on that. Like, hey, you know, our purpose right now is like obviously to have a good time and be with everybody, but we also need to make sure that we get this video done and it's what we want it to be, you know? So it's like, just being accountable for your actions and being like, yeah, I'll get a couple tricks and feel good, and then I could party, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like I've kind of fulfilled the need that's asked of me, you know? So
hey, you guys been helping us out a ton. The Clips channel just got to 20K in record time, and we're trying to hit 30. So go down below, click the subscribe button. We're updating every day. Appreciate y'all.